I know Claire is not coming because she's away on spring break. And did we
You're not yet.
Did you?
I did not.
Did Debbie say she was coming?
She didn't say she wasn't.
Okay.
So, 6, and who else?
Jane's in it.
Oh, and Claire. Okay, so that's everybody. So I'm going to call the meeting to order, and Jane will come back in just a sec. So then we have roll call. Do you want to do that, or do you do the? We're supposed to do an official roll call nowadays. But
Oh, we are. Okay, that's
it doesn't matter. I mean, we're all here except for Claire.
okay.
And Debbie.
Raise your hand.
Oh, and
if you're
Debbie's
here.
not here yet. That's true. Thank you. I assume she's coming.
Was there someone who was newly appointed or no? I thought somebody interviewed for it.
They interviewed, but I don't think they've made an appointment yet.
We haven't voted yet.
And have you decided, are you going to apply, or are you just going to officially attend?
I'm just going to attend.
Okay. No pressure.
Considering this is the first one I've been able to make, I'm just gonna. It's like almost
A dubious.
Well, we might assign you, we might
here comes
assign you
Debbie.
tasks and roles. So
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
someone on the table.
Okay, and here comes Debbie. So the next thing is the agenda approval. Did everyone read it and approve? Do they have any changes?
Make a motion to accept the approve the agenda.
Okay, someone want to second that?
Second.
Everybody okay with the agenda? All right, we are now, welcome Debbie. We're rapidly moving on to public comment. Would any of our public like to? Okay. And now we are on to new business and updates. And the first thing is the request for proposal creative placemaking master plan staff update. So,
Very good. Well, the RFP, the request for proposals, went out on the 18th, and I've had about 60 firms download the RFP, so that's very exciting. We've had about a half a dozen phone calls and emails asking just a few questions. And then the official questions about the RFP are due on Monday. So I expect to get a barrage of emails on Monday from firms who have really reviewed the proposal process and the scope of work and have lots of questions about it. So we will receive those by the end of the day on Monday, and then our answers to their questions are due on Tuesday. So I will upload those to our bid processing system. And then the proposals are due on April 12th at noon. So I have a few hours to review them before the weekend. And one of the things that we'll go over probably by email, I would guess, is what that review process looks like for you all.
that's what I was going to ask you, how
we could discuss that now, but we won't be meeting again until the April meeting. But between the April 12th and the April meeting, which is April, does anyone recall what the date is in April for our meeting?
Yeah.
That last Thursday in April, we'll discuss the applicants and the proposals. I have a one-page review form that you'll be able to use with the review criteria and the scoring. And so when we forward you proposals to review, then you'll be able to comment and score the proposals in a form, equitable format, and it'll really give you some outline in your review process, because they're going to be long. They'll be probably about 25 pages each. It's quite a bit of material. Now, if we get 60 proposals, we'll want to talk about whether or not you want to review all 60. Staff will have to, but one idea could be that we narrow down the pool to maybe the top 5 or something like that. So we can narrow it down to a manageable amount of proposals. And so that's just something we need to figure out once we see how many proposals come in.
And then what's the date that you let them know they've received the?
I think we're giving 2 weeks to review. So we'll have 2 weeks to review, and I would like to set up interviews with the semifinalists the first week of May. And so what we may do, and I have to kind of figure out this detail with Patrick and the manager, how does that look? Will we have a representative from CAPS on that interview committee or what have you? So it'll be a staff led process, but certainly CAPS should be involved somehow. And at that April meeting, we'll figure out how that participation looks.
Kevin, when they chose the consultant for the planning commission, did it have to go to the board or was it staff? It did?
It did.
Yes.
Okay.
So what will happen is staff will review and narrow down if needed. CAPS will evaluate and score. And then you will recommend, I think, that the CAPS will participate in the recommendation to the board, and then the board will have to review the proposal and approve the contract.
Okay.
But do you anticipate that being a group effort? Like us all evaluating together, like looking at all the proposals?
Like we did.
Yeah, I
Like
think
with the art-
we need to do that.
Yeah, I would think that would be,
Absolutely.
yeah.
As a group.
Yeah, not just a survey. We'll have to have some discussion.
Do you have any idea what that looks like? Like,
Well,
what the criteria
I
looks
don't,
like?
I do know what the criteria looks like.
For us to judge?
It's in the
Oh.
RFP, and there's 4 criteria and a score of up to 100
Okay.
points. So I'll have more information in April when we figure out how many applicants there are.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, if there's 60 applications, it'll probably be best if we narrow it down on the staff level and then bring you a certain number, so we can figure that out.
How would you make a, slash and burn of, the applicants? I mean, I know
Well,
we had a ton of work when we had 122 applicants for this project, but I'm really glad we looked at all of them.
Right, but there'll be, I mean, it's at 25, it's pretty much a book. So it's different than just looking at images for artist applicants.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
we deserve some credit. We can go through those things
Yeah.
pretty quickly, so.
Yeah, well, like I said, I still need to confirm what the process is for how contracts get awarded and what your participation is. What I know right now is that there's a scoring criteria that we're going to use. And certainly you guys will review at least a certain number and then participate in an interview process.
I'm uncomfortable with that certain number. I wonder why we can't see them all.
Well, we don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we'll wait and see. And honestly, it's not like artwork, like she was saying. You could look at their proposals and go, oh, these guys are out. They don't even have correct spelling or correct grammar.
Exactly. We could do that.
Gone or whatever, whatever it is. But it's, yeah. So.
It's a different contract than the artists. It's a professional services contract in a different way. It's a consulting contract.
I understand.
And I know that the town has certain requirements for who reviews those and approves them.
Yeah, but people weigh background experience versus education differently. And so I would just hate to see a cut without it being exposed to us, what the candidates are.
Sure, I understand that. One thing that, like I said, I need to look into is what the responsibility of advisory committees are versus staff versus board. And that's just a process that I have to look into still. I've been focusing on just getting the RFP written and out.
I was under the impression the art consultant was a consultant to us rather than.
Well, it's not just to
It's
us,
to the
it's
town.
the
To the
town.
town,
I mean,
yes.
it's a process, so, I mean, we're the committee that's working with them the most closely, but staff has to work with them
Yeah,
as well.
and the CAPS group, you all are the steering committee for the planning process. You'll be guiding the consultants and so on and so forth. But the town staff, from what I understand, we oversee the contract and we manage their milestones and their payments and their goals.
Sure, that's different than selection. Or just making the point.
So are you saying that you feel it's important that it becomes a process where it's an inclusive process?
Yeah, transparent.
That we have input, understanding fully that you have to follow policy that is
Right.
part of the staff.
Right,
I think that's a
right.
very fair request, that we have
Right.
a collective.
It'll absolutely be transparent.
Yeah.
There'll be no hidden agendas
Right.
whatsoever. There'll be no conflicts of interest. It'll be completely transparent. I just don't know what the process looks like because I'm new and I was focusing on getting the RFP written and out.
And I respect that, and I think we can move on from that. And honestly, if there are 60 25-page applications, I'm going to trust that staff is going to be able to make some really educated decisions about that and not waste our time with 60 or 120 that I think that you guys are, very confident at doing that. And if you brought us the top 10 or the top 20 or whatever you felt was reasonable, that's where we could step in and hopefully have some input, so.
Yeah, and I'm sure if I had questions at that point, it's public record, I could just come in and take an hour and do it myself too. Take a
Potentially,
look.
yeah. I mean, again, those are kind of the processes I need to look into on if you would have to follow Open Records Act, or since you're on an advisory committee, if there's a different process than Open Records requests, things like that. But I'm happy to answer all those questions for sure by the next meeting for you.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
so if you get the proposals by April 12th,
Yes,
staff reviews them.
yes.
Do we have in that email that you sent us on the RFP, is there a way, first of all, to download that into Dropbox?
The RFP itself?
I'm sure there is. I just didn't want to have to take the time to figure it out.
What do you want to download?
Well, the RFP, if the RFP's in Dropbox or some way that at least I could look at it or we can look at it ahead of time and this is what was in the RFP.
Well,
I mean,
it's
can I
in,
click on it in your email?
Yeah,
So-
you can get it in my email and
Okay.
download it from the email. You can get it on the town website.
It
It's
wasn't
on.
easy though, I tried.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's actually not on the town website.
Yeah, I did
It was not easy for me and I just kind of.
Yeah, you need to sign in to the procurement. I had to create my own login because
Yeah.
silly as it is.
Oh, well, you know.
No, I agree, if there was an
I
easier way just to
can
cut
show you
and paste, oh,
Where
okay.
it is on the website. I thought it went where I thought it was supposed to be. So let's just, if you guys have a moment, do you mind if I just?
No, I mean, my other question was, is there some way to get it accessible to us so we can read the RFP and go through it and what's in it? And the other part of it is your
Trying to
review
turn the light
form
on.
somewhere so we know what staff and we're going to
She said the
review?
form is in a part of the RFP, so that.
Okay, and if I can't get to the RFP, so that, okay.
The criteria.
Bids, RFPs, and
Oh, there
RFQs
it
there.
is. I just need to turn the
Yeah,
light
I
off.
went there
can't
and I
see very
didn't
well.
find it.
Yeah, that's going to link.
But Debbie, to your point, I
So
think
this is
that
supposed to go-
from her email, we could create a timeline in.
Right, in
There it is.
Dropbox.
Well, that looked
Yeah.
easy.
And see the criteria.
I was like, I
Debbie, is
thought I
that
put it there.
what you
It
were
really,
saying?
okay, wait.
It wasn't there the last time I looked.
Okay, yeah, I
It
looked,
was
when
not
you first
there.
sent out the email and I had a hard
Because
time.
I may have posted it right after I emailed you.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked not that long ago, maybe I have to refresh, but it was definitely
So
not.
that's easy.
There was nothing under Parks and Rec.
Under
when I was
bids,
there.
RFPs,
Okay.
RFQs.
I can send out a link
No,
so
yeah,
that
thanks for
everybody can
walking us
get
through
it.
that. That's good, yeah.
Okay, so everything we need is in there. The
Yeah.
Yeah.
RFP's in there, the criteria's in there.
I'll be
Okay.
happy to go to it real fast. This is the scoring criteria. And so this is a form that whoever reviews is going to use, including staff. So, 40% is based on their qualifications and personnel, and 60% is based on their project approach. So that's how I figured out the criteria for scoring.
And I'm assuming if they submit the RFP with their firm name, we can go into the firm and find out what other towns they have written master plans for.
And they probably have
Yeah.
references, but yeah, I'm sure. that
You know, like,
we
so you can
search.
read them and get an idea
Yeah.
of kind of their approach and where they're coming from and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone else have questions about the master planning? Okay. All right, on to regular old discussion items, the pop-up activity planning. So we want to talk about the logistics and finalize as much as we can on the prairie dogs, the utility boxes versus bus shelters, and also our dance experience. So Jane, did you want to start off with some prairie dog info?
Some prairie. Well, the first thing I did was investigate, I guess for lack of a better word, the pedestal concept, or how to actually anchor them, since they're not going to be permanent. And that, I did not, as you know, put this on Pinterest for a variety of reasons, but these little creatures, this happens to be a lion, and I can pass them around, but there's like a metal, like a flange thing that comes out that is screwed into the ground. And I read a lot of reviews. If you can see it, it just comes out right here on either side of his foot. That said that it's really hard to do pedestals, because if somebody wants them, they get them, and they'll just crowbar them up. And suggesting maybe a plaque or something, if it's donated or in honor of something or done by an artist. But the idea, and here's another one that is actually, it is on a pedestal. But then again, the problem with this is, and it's signed by the artist, is how does that become into the ground? Who's responsible for screwing it into the ground and taking it out, etc. So the other thing then, as I was researching this company, and it may be the one that you found, it's called, it's a woman's own cooperative, and it's called Cows on Display. And they are in Chicago, and they make these molded figures. I originally thought, I wonder if they were responsible for the big cows, but they're not. And they are very involved in the events. And here's one that I don't know if we would want to change from the prairie dog concept, but this is a project that they did on dogs, and it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, if you think about how many people would donate to get a dog sculpture up, or saving, or, rescue dogs, etc. And then I even, they called it Dogs on Parade, and whether or not you could do that in community, or how that would evolve, of applications of groups that might want to sponsor if we did these dogs, or groups of other, you can do other kinds of animals. And then and here's an interesting one, it's a little bizarre, but it's a butterfly on a tree. I mean, there's just a lot of options, but I'm sticking back with either the prairie dog or something that we feel works in that direction. And my other question is, do we want to investigate putting them in parks, or putting them in areas? I'm not sure that Superior has enough businesses. If I'm on the wrong track here, help me, of just putting one of these objects in front of a business. Would it be better to have them show up, in the more public area, or groups of 2 or 3 of these things or something? Anyway, so I have my recommendation from my research is that they get planted into the ground. If it's possible to screw them into the earth or the ground, and then acknowledge the artist in a way, or the sponsor. I haven't, from the research I did, I didn't see anybody that saw if they're not permanent, a pedestal working very well. They just thought that was, so that's.
Did you run across anything that, like when you do you put a cement pillar pylon in the dirt that's down 36 inches or something?
You can do that.
And has like a security hook or something that it could?
It just requires, it's an individual that knows how to, I don't know what goes through putting in a big pile of cement with a thing on it and screwing it in. I don't have that knowledge, and I don't know.
So one of the things I was hoping you would do at your mid-month meeting is just come up with the final icon imagery, so, and then
I
I
still
would.
have a report about the prairie dog, so maybe
Oh,
that'll.
great. And then from there, I would help you with all the logistics.
Okay.
I know exactly how to install the items, and we can maybe have 3 different installation mechanisms. For example, we'll have one installation mechanism where it's on a sidewalk in front of a business.
Okay.
We'll have one mechanism where it might be in the grass or in the ground at a park.
That's good.
And then another example. On a,
That's right there.
brick wall, I don't know. So I'll help you with like the technical details of fabricating installation mechanisms and plaques and those kind of fun
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
I forgot that you would know that. But my last comment is that, before Marcia, is that in just looking, and I will put this up on Pinterest, there are so many fabulous, appropriate artists and designs. It's going to be a lot of fun. Even if you look at these dogs and things that are, you can make little projects that take your kid around, et cetera, they can be really kind of inspiring. So I think even if we do feel okay with the prairie dog, even though I guess he's kind of got some political correctness issues, that we can make it be a lot of fun. So that's my report.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about that and weighed the pros and cons of the controversy for prairie dogs, and we thought that, even negative publicity is good publicity in a way, so we understand it's a controversial thing, but we think that could be very positive too, and these are playful, so, but the thing that we were worried about is how does that look? We don't have, the company that Daryl has checked into doesn't have a prairie dog per se, but they do have a squirrel that looks so close to a prairie dog that I'm sure we can have it modified.
They'll make a prairie dog for us.
Yeah, and we were thinking, it has to have a fun face. It can't be like a literal prairie dog. So I went looking for images of fun prairie dogs. So I'm going to pass this around. But what's on the top is their squirrel.
Yeah.
And they could really easily make it into a prairie dog. And here's the thing too. This squirrel is set on a base, a poured fiberglass base. And I've drawn a little picture where a hole could be either drilled or precast to go through the base into the ground and something screwed. So that's that.
Well, that's a good point. Whatever we end up with should have something where we can screw it in
otherwise
the base.
Yeah, I'm sure you faced that before that they,
But I think that based on the meeting, we are going full bore down the prairie dog.
The prairie dog hole.
Something else.
We're going down
That
that
one
hole.
too.
I surveyed my neighbors and they all thought it was a really cute idea, and not one person had a negative, feeling about it, so,
I think we can make it a lot of fun.
yeah.
Something else, I did research on the materials. And, nobody can use oil paints, but Liquitex brand acrylic paints could be used. And on top of the form is going to come already primed. And it's good to add a second layer of primer. And then you can paint with acrylic paint. This is like acrylic paint. When it dries, it really becomes a layer of plastic. However, it's not very thick. It's kind of like this. So then it's necessary, and there's 2 companies that recommend it. You have to take these things to an auto body shop and have a layer of polyurethane put on the whole thing, which is like putting another glove on this. So that's as permanent as it gets, but it's good that we would do this in the summertime because then these figures would be warm, and then they're painted, and then they shrink in the winter. So this becomes a little bit baggy, and it's easy for that surface to get chipped or torn or something.
Oh.
So, well, I shouldn't say easy, but it's like a double layer of this. So I think we have to be careful when we talk about, auctioning these off or long-term guarantees, or, even these companies, disclaimer is like, depending upon the artist's use of these materials, we cannot guarantee long-term
permanence.
Did you, in your research, did you read anything about durability? Like, my concern about putting them in a park is kids climbing on them. And how durable are they? So that would be a question to find out.
That would be awful hard on the paint, especially if the totem underneath is expanding and shrinking with the weather.
Yeah, it's
It'll
just, I mean,
expand in the
that,
summer and shrink in the winter.
yeah, I mean, I love the idea of things being at the parks, but I just am concerned that they might
There
get,
must be a way to do that, because the cows on parade in Chicago and the horses in Arlington Heights, Illinois,
people can.
people would crawl on them and stuff. So there must be a way to make them reasonably strong. It wasn't like they had signs, don't touch or crawl on
This
them.
company has some in Aurora at the Arabian Horse Organization, this particular company that's in Chicago. So I don't know if we could research how the ones in Chicago are done. It's Cow Painters LLC, but one of their examples.
Cow painters.
Yeah, cow painters. And since they actually do have these big painted horses in Aurora, I bet we could find out some of that information.
And those are questions to ask the vendor
Yeah,
when we
exactly.
consult
Oh,
with
so
them.
okay.
If that becomes
Yeah,
a problem,
I've
just
got
your
your list of
porcupine
materials.
Oh, exactly.
Studied up on all that.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this.
There's porcupines in the trees.
They won't climb on those.
Solve that.
Or they might figure out a way.
That's right.
It's a very cool concept.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so,
I
questions?
just had a few questions. So this will help me in my kind of planning and helping you with the branding and promotion. So I thought it'd be helpful if there was like some programming around it. Like someone mentioned auctioning. Do we want to do some sort of fundraising event around it where the proceeds will go towards future projects? So that's one question, programming. Will there be, we don't know how many pieces yet, right? So we don't know how many artists will be involved and who are the artists. I can do one question at a time, it might be the easiest. I have 3 or 4 questions. Should we do it that way? Does that make sense?
Yeah. The programming,
Thoughts about that?
so my personal thoughts are, I would love eventually to do the fundraising component of it, but I think initially I would like whatever we do to be permanent fixtures in town. And that's just my personal, and then going forward, doing some fundraising, but that's how
Having the first ones that we are created for us to be permanent, not to be moved. I mean,
to stay in town so that
oh yeah.
somewhere, wherever they are. I mean, you could move them around town, they could pop up in different places maybe, but I'd like them to not be sold and gone other.
I think that's a great idea because we have never done anything like this before. And, people become a little more familiar with it and they like them and then we enlarge. I almost think that maybe more than 6, maybe that's wrong because of cost and bringing it to the public side. Maybe starting smaller is better. But
Well, I would say up to 10. I think we could probably find 10 artists. And again, it will boil down to cost.
yeah.
Do we find anybody that was less expensive than, what was the other company? $2,500 to build a prototype and then $2,500,
It was $2,300 to fabricate it,
okay?
to create the mold.
Right.
And then they're $800 a piece.
Oh, okay.
This place, and this may not be appropriate because the size is so much smaller, but they were doing these fiberglass or whatever that material is. They were creating these dogs at $350 a piece. Now, I don't know the history, whether that was, 1,000 things, but I do think we could get a second bid. And as Marcia and I independently discovered, this company is really a good one, I think.
Do we have to send it out for bid?
It depends on the amount. I
Is there a
believe
dollar
if it's
amount?
25,000 or more, we have to send it
Is that what it
out
is?
for
Oh,
bid.
that'll be fine.
Yeah. So programming, other thoughts, for example, what would you say the goals are for this program? And is there a tagline that will help us in the promotion of it?
there's a lot of steps to getting it done. I think just laying out the steps and having each person contribute as much work as they can to each step is gonna get us there.
So Dina, you would like to know, is programming different from basically the tagline for marketing? Or do you look at those as one category?
Yeah, I guess I see it as, you know, I see them as a tool.
Mhm.
So I see the artworks as a tool to promote a greater goal. And so I was hoping that at the mid-month, you guys would have brainstormed and thought about the goals for this program and how we could use it to, whether it's helping brand who we are, or talk about who we are, or celebrate who we are.
Well, we did. We want to bring fun and whimsy to town.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I mean, that
Yeah,
is what
just
we
like that.
want. We just,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not a statement, it's just an implantation of
And
fun
we
and
did-
whimsical imagery.
And the placement in places where we want people to congregate.
Okay.
So, or where there would be a higher volume of people to see it, so.
Well, that's the hard part about, when I went into Superior Liquor, I'm like, it doesn't really lend itself to having a painted
I don't
prairie
think it
dog.
does. I think we want
And it gets a lot of traffic,
of
but I
a
don't know.
family public space. I can share with you what one of the women wrote. She's from Palo Alto. She said, the public art project Cal Paters completed in partnership with the town of wherever helped me get my daughter and others outside curious, engaged with our local community. And she subsequently wrote a book called What's That, Mom? And then kids participated in creating stories about the things that they put up. So it says to engage children and citizenry with the world around them. So
Right.
it's a beginning of a discovery. I can see him even saying, you know, almost a Find Waldo concept, you know, or I don't know how that would fit into going on a website for the city, but, you know, or even those little, you know, you find out where they're posted, and all of that, I think, would evolve. Right now, as you point out, if we get them done
Done,
and
yeah.
created, we
And
know
then
we have
you
a
make the
positive,
games
we
and-
have a positive, I think what you're asking, Dina, is how can we make it engage a creativity? And this, to me, feels like where we're starting.
And doing it now, it's a little bit trickier because, you know, once the Coal Creek corridor is complete, well, that's probably the alliteration, is complete, you know, it'd be fun to have one there and then one in the downtown Superior. So, you know, eventually, I think there would be a set route, which
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of taps into everyone's, you know, mobilization of Superior. So,
Trails and.
right, so so, you know, Superior Marketplace, and then maybe Founders, and then Coal Creek, and then downtown, and then up near the new,
Yeah.
you know, so, you don't have all that quite yet.
Sure.
But I think that is our goal, which would be in our master plan, is to have that
Much more
connectivity with these, with the
pieces.
temporary exhibits,
Yeah.
so.
And to the point of Superior Liquor, I think when I was thinking about shopping centers, I was thinking those are highly visible, they are patrolled, they have lights on them. We have a lot of vandalism in town, and I would hate to have our hard work be immediately vandalized. I mean, Community Park, they set the slides on fire and do crazy stuff. So as much as I love the idea of them being in the parks, I think, you know, initially our pieces should be in a place where
Well
it's a
lit.
little more high
Yes.
profile and, yeah,
Like the liquor store.
like the liquor store.
Yeah, right, no, and I hear you saying.
Great. Okay.
So one other thing, okay, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just, my next question would be the art selection process. So I'm a process person. I'm always like trying to think ahead about how I'm going to do this. So my thought was to ask what your thoughts are on the art selection process. If, let's say we have up to 10, do we want to do an open call for artists and say, we're going to do this, we want anyone who has ideas to
They'd have to
apply?
submit. And,
Okay.
yeah, and that's part of the, you were working on the programming for that or not?
Okay.
And we were limiting it to Boulder County.
Yeah, we did discuss that we wanted to keep it in Boulder County.
Okay.
If we,
And then, are you open to medium? In other words, does it have to be painted? Or can people
No.
collage on it? Or can
No.
people
No, but yeah,
turn it into sculptural?
Yep, absolutely.
something?
They just have to submit a plan.
Okay.
And I think we've been reading in some of them, like where they did the pigs and they added
Yeah.
wings, they just have to tell you what materials they're gonna use and how they're gonna adhere it.
Okay.
Because they have to be durable enough that
Yes.
they don't pop off.
And we can distribute the call for entry, we'll have the parameters, you know, use durable materials. It can't be, you know, paper that's gonna wash off, that kind of stuff.
Do we give
Okay.
them idea on themes, saying, I mean, at all? I mean, they're gonna know when they start to research it, but we're interested in themes that relate to Colorado or good living, or is that too tying an artist down too much? So we let them run with it however they want?
Yeah.
I think
Like
we
was
let
back
them
in your
run and we
tagline.
pick.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Just
it would
fun
be
and
great to,
whimsical.
we could give them a couple of the websites that we have, you know, that maybe you gave them to us, sheet of the websites that show the examples, so that they know what we're talking about. That we are gonna have to do like a list of do not use this and do not use that, stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah.
To, you know, precautions, because the chemicals involved in this thing is kind of intense. Like, it's fiberglass, they can't be
Sure.
like sanding it and
Right.
stuff, or if they're drilling into it or attaching things, they should be wearing protection, so.
Well, we can start the art selection process right away, because it'll take a while to fabricate, and it'll take a while for artists to design, so
Yeah.
I don't see why we can't do those two things simultaneously.
So would you write up the call for entry and we would look at it and,
Yeah.
okay, that'd be awesome.
That was number 2, right? You can tell I'm a process person. So that was your question number 2?
Yeah, it
Artist
was
selection, how
programming,
that
artist
process-
selection, and then media was my third, which is related to
Right.
the call for entry.
Well, and I do think we need a tagline. I mean,
Well,
or something.
It just may
It's
not
like
be
something-
ready yet.
Something,
I mean, but if we know we
The
kind
Prairie
of,
Dog Party of Superior?
Or Prairie Dog
Just make it
Parade,
fun.
we talked
Well,
about.
they had, this is, yeah, Prairie Dog.
Yeah.
Parade.
well,
Prairie
and
Dog
someone
Parade or-
mentioned, maybe it was you, the way you've been talking about it is art is popping up, and that's partly why.
Pop-up prairie dogs?
Prairie dogs pop up all over.
Yeah.
Prairie dogs are.
We can play around with
Play
that.
around with the idea of
Okay.
popping
Popping up.
up, because they literally do pop up out of the,
How big are we
well,
gonna
and
know?
on the
how-
bus stops, we could have a decal of a prairie dog's face, just a cartoon, like popping up.
Maybe we can have like one, you know,
Going
big
down.
one.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones, you know, an artist could
Graduating.
apply for 3 sizes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the budget will
well,
allow, but.
one of the things we had talked about or thought about to involve the community, because everybody really loved taking part in the mural, and we were talking about making small wooden or some other kind of prairie dogs that anybody in the community could take one and decorate, and then we have them literally popping up at
And
an
maybe we
event.
do that at the first meeting.
And that could be at the first main event.
Could
Yeah,
they be
I think
little
that's pretty
fiberglass ones, or, and I keep using the wrong term, I mean, when they mold them, could they?
We could get like laser jet wood pieces.
We
of,
could,
you
we
know,
could look at
there's a
what the
million different
possibility
things,
of, yeah,
But something to stick in your yard.
Yeah, or anywhere.
the yard along
Yeah.
the trail, like we joked about how they could be mile
Yeah.
markers along the
People would
trail.
love that, and they sign them, so, you know, the ones, but how do we know how big when we put this to bid, I guess that procedure we have to decide on, to tell them how big we want the big one to be.
Well,
and the
initially, I
other-
just got a price for a 4-foot, because I thought that was, you know, a nice
For the
size.
biggest one? Couldn't we go 8 to 10 feet?
We want to be whimsical, we don't want to be wacky.
Maybe a 5-foot with a 1-foot base.
right in front of your liquor, 10 feet tall, whoa.
Yeah, what are you 6 feet tall?
Maybe like,
I might be a little big for
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think part of it just boils down to cost, so, yeah, as big as up to 5 feet.
Yeah. So the tagline, back to the Dropbox. If we can use Dropbox to know we have a timeline, but then as each of us comes up with an idea for a tagline, marketing, promotion ties in, we could just dump them, basically a brain dump into Dropbox. So Prairie Dog Parade or Pop-Up Pete or whatever it might be. Because I do think we need a tagline. I think we need a marketing
Yeah.
concept around it.
Yeah, that has like 3 or 4 words you can just.
They know what it is,
You're
they,
marketing
yeah.
genius.
And then
I
you
know, I have
have,
to think, it's not gonna come off right now.
Not right now.
okay.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. Don't, we have a Prairie Dog pop-up Dropbox page, but
Do
maybe.
we? Okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't figure out how to get all Dina's stuff over to it. So, my free time.
Yeah,
I'll work at
I
that.
actually signed up for your Dropbox too, so.
Yeah, there is a
Yeah.
Prairie Dog Dropbox box.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have more questions? Do you need anything more from us?
I
for
think
the
that
Prairie
helps
Dogs?
me get started with the, artist selection and trying to help start to brand it and that kind of thing. Very
Okay.
helpful.
Is there like an end goal timeline for this, like summer, end of summer?
Well, I mean, part of it depends on the fabrication of the pieces. When I talked to the woman, she said 8 to 12 weeks from this one company. Now we have another company that we can go and get a bid from. I imagine if we did something other than a Prairie Dog where they wouldn't have to create the mold,
Yeah.
it could be done faster and less expensively. That's why the dogs are probably so cheap, because they have a mold and they just make a
Yeah.
bunch.
Well, how do we start that process? Is that something that we give our company ideas to staff, or how do we actually get that process to start happening since
The
it was?
fabrication part?
Yeah, or
Yeah,
selecting
similar
what he looks
to
like or she
the
looks.
art selection process. So I think they can run simultaneously. So I can start working on the art selection process documents, and then at the same time, reach out to the vendors you've been talking to, and then see if there's more, because I know there's 2 local fiberglass fabricators.
Oh, cool.
Oh, great.
And
that
so
would be cool.
you might as well see what they have to say.
Absolutely.
And then from there, we'll engage, and we'll talk about this in more detail in a minute, we'll engage coordinating, an assistant coordinator for the main events, and that person can help us work out the June, if we do a June participatory art activity. So some of those things can kind of line up, and I can put some of those thoughts on paper and share them with you between meetings.
Well, and if we do because if it's 3 months for that other person, that's basically April, May, and June. So they wouldn't even
And
be up
then,
until July.
but then the artist would be selected, so as soon as they landed here, they could start
Right, but that
painting.
means, so let's say,
Sometimes
worst
you give
case,
them a month to paint,
that means July, and we won't even see them till August.
but which
which
it
is
would be
fine.
kind of cool to have a reveal at Chili Fest possibly, there's already an
Or
event
coming
going
soon,
on.
and then at the first main event, you could even have, we could start to build
have an announcement,
anticipation.
yeah.
Have the small ones purchasable, even some picture, pop-up coming, look for Prairie Dogs
Yeah.
pop-up and,
Yeah.
build it that way maybe.
Yeah, like the announcement could be the June, then it could be lucky enough to get some in July, so that the artist can start designing them. We'll have the artist selected by June. I don't see why that wouldn't be a possibility.
What about, besides the RIP for artists, if you need to write a whole one for this small project, but what about the visuals
What do you mean?
that are submitted by the artists to show that they can do what they're,
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
they-
that would
they-
be,
there'll
I
be
would
a-
think that would be by the June. I think we could do that by June.
I mean, what kind of visuals
Yeah.
would we be asking for? Because
Well,
we definitely need to ask for
we would-
some idea that they're capable of
Right.
painting.
Normally, I would ask for an artist rendering in whatever medium they're comfortable with. So some artists might do it digital, maybe in Illustrator or Photoshop. Some artists might do a hand drawing. Some artists might send us a painting, So we'll allow them to express their idea in whatever format they know how to use. And then we
need
evaluate.
painters, though.
Sorry?
We just need painters.
Well, no,
No.
I could apply as a graphic designer.
Graphic designer.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah.
The
I want to
collage.
do a prairie dog.
Yeah.
Well, you get to.
Well, you get to. Have you
But I-
painted anything before?
I paint things all the
Well,
time.
there you go.
But I'm
Then
not
you
a
have a
painter.
portfolio.
But I'm not a painter. No, I don't have a portfolio.
Well, you have a couple of images.
No, I really.
Well, I think I heard that there's going to be more than just painting allowed.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, so someone might send us a little sculpture and say, this is what I want to do. So we just allow them to express their idea in whatever medium they know.
And they submit artwork of pieces of art, of finished work that they've done.
Exactly.
Similar
We need
to
images of finished
they
work.
don't have to have gone out and painted prairie dogs or dogs or anything, but they have to show that they have capability to
Yeah.
finish.
So Dina, that's usually like in a CD or, a DVD or in,
We might do
a website that
callforentry.org,
the artist
maybe.
Because then they just, like we did
So-
for the,
like we did for,
but they just submit, I would actually think just electronically would be fine.
I'm sure
but we
digitally in
need
today's world,
images.
they'll do it quicker.
Absolutely.
A digital, they'll just do it, somebody who's sophisticated enough will just give you a digital idea, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
and
what
even
I'm-
painters
Yeah.
use graphic design to sketch out what they're doing these days.
So when you did the 40 West, I imagine you had all sorts of people submitting there. Yeah, so Dina has lots of experience, dealing with
I
this
just
stuff.
didn't hear anything about images. and
Well,
that's so
but
important.
have you been to the website to see, what's it called, 40 West?
40 West Artline.
The 40 West Artline, have you seen that?
No.
You need to go,
Okay,
because
that's
you
a different
spearheaded
one.
that.
Yeah.
And just to see what she spearheaded, just to give you an idea of different mediums and
Is
art.
40 spelled out?
No, it's a number.
Number.
So it's 40,
West
West.
Artline.
is West spelled out?
Yes. .org.
Artline?
I'm glad you said that. I just
Yeah.
It's a
promptly writing
4-mile
Tom.
walking and biking trail in Lakewood, in
Oh,
their
wow.
arts district. And we put up about 50 pieces of art of different media, all along the trail.
Oh, that's great.
Now, if we do, so do we want or not want this summer to have a coordinating smaller thing that residents can participate in?
That's what we were just talking about.
Yeah, the main event. in June.
Okay?
At the main event.
That didn't come through super clear. Okay.
Yeah, no, we were
So-
talking about either doing a wooden or another smaller fiberglass
And see if we could do that.
incorporating it in the main event, and then that
Okay.
would be
With
a precursor to advertising for the,
Yeah, so we have April and May to figure this all out. We'll get it done.
and we do have a lot of other things, so do you have anything else you need from us?
I don't for the prairie dog,
Okay.
other than I can provide an update for your mid-month
Great.
Okay.
and see where we're at.
Does anyone have any other questions about the prairie dogs at this point in time? Okay, so then on to utility boxes versus bus shelters. And Melinda, do you want to take that away? Because you've been really investigating that.
Well, I don't want to get excited about it until I hear from Dina. So tell me what you know.
Okay, so I went on a nice tour yesterday with one of the public works staff, and we went and looked at all the bus shelters and all the utility boxes that are available. As you may know, the bus shelters are all along Rock Creek. Is that a boulevard or parkway?
Parkway.
Parkway. There are about a dozen. The town maintains them. And I've already talked to Patrick, who our department, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, manages the contract maintenance. So our department, I guess you could say, has purview over them. And I think that the town is open to us doing artwork on bus shelters. And there's a million examples. If you just Google bus shelter art, you can see it's a variety.
We
It's
have a
really
Pinterest
amazing.
account.
Great.
So we're all
So you know.
excited.
Now, one thing that I think we need to talk about when we're talking about the two options is the impact. So what's our biggest bang for our buck, right? You can see here just from these examples that our utility boxes are at intersections. They're all like this. They're about chest height, so for me, what is that, maybe 4 feet tall. And they're probably not more than 3 feet square. And one idea here would be that we could do, I would recommend doing a graphic design and a wrap instead of painting directly. You
No,
may-
that's what
oh,
we
you may
were
okay,
already
yeah.
doing wraps.
We're on the same page
Yeah.
there. It's just easier, cleaner, and easier to maintain.
Yeah.
Whereas here, we're a little bit more open. You could do a painting on the glass, but if you want it to be more temporary, then you do, you know, like a Lexan design that then gets attached so that you can move it later. So there's a million options for the bus shelter, but whereas this, I think there's one medium, and it's the wrap, but it could be any design. And it could be any kind of artist too. It could be a painter, a photographer, it could be a graphic designer, so on and so forth.
And how many
There's
signal
not
boxes
too
are there?
many. We didn't get a quite a count because they don't really have an inventory. But while I was out, I took pictures of all the ones that I saw, and I saw, I think I saw 7. So, and I think I already said there's about a dozen bus shelters. And I started mapping them out. I dropped pins on my Google map where they are. So what I'd like to do is start mapping out the artwork. So we have, I believe we already have a GIS map that the Public Works guys made with the current artwork. And then if we can overlay the bus shelters on, and then you overlay on the signal boxes, you start to really see where that impact is. And what else? He came up, the Public Works staff person came up with some other ideas, which maybe it's a future project, but he came up with doing the irrigation boxes.
Oh.
There's several irrigation boxes around. They're big green boxes.
Yeah.
As well. And we own, you know, the town owns those. He came up with the pedestrian street signals. There's a power box that's about 3 feet around the signal box poles. We could wrap those. You know, so there's more ideas that we could layer on as the time goes on. But you'll start to see the impact when you see the map.
And as an art coordinator, do you have a feeling for how different, you know, that type, I mean, I guess my biggest concern is you don't want so much that it looks.
Sure, I see where you're going.
I mean, there's a line between being fun and whimsical
Yes.
and just kind of looking oddly tacky.
Looking
Messy or
Yes.
whatever.
Right,
I
that's
mean,
right. And your
or whatever.
example here is there's nothing else around.
Right.
And so this one is kind of a standalone. As I've been doing
Right.
the same thing you've been doing, you know, when I originally thought that the signal boxes would be a good idea because you have a captive audience at a traffic signal, no one is looking around, and you're competing with the lights, and you're competing with the cars, and you're competing with my phone. Right. And so I thought, oh, that really wouldn't have a big impact at all at the busier intersections. This would be a smaller project, I think.
Well, and I think you have to think about that in more detail too, because who's our audience? Is it the person walking or is it the person driving? And really, the
Right.
prime audience for both of these are pedestrian.
Yeah. Right, which is, so I guess my question about, because I have gravitated almost 100% towards the bus shelters, because they're in the best locations. You have 2 approaching the roundabout, you know, right? And then you have the few on Rock Creek, and then you have them on the other side of Superior. So they are for pedestrians, so you have people walking there. And as you're driving, as you mentioned, like the height, you're not looking there, but you are, the height of the bus stop, your eye is naturally going to gravitate towards that. So I really like the bus stops, but not that we can't do a few, like you said, in the future, like the utility boxes, but I think for our money, I think the bus stops provide a bigger punch. But here's where maybe you can help with cost-effective, ideas, because we could really use those for advertising. We talked about how do we advertise Pop-Up Pete, right? Like, I'm just saying, that was going to be the tagline, right? Like if someone was design Pete, could you get like a pretty cheap decal and we would have his little face, right? Look for Pop-Up Pete, like on the bus stops around town. So, we can use these as some formative, pretty large art projects, or some advertising. Dow is coming, right? Look for Dow, like especially right before the roundabout. So we have that.
One thing I'd have to find out is if we would have to follow sign code, because advertising would be under code, whereas art is not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and I think in bus stops, you need to check out safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if I'm a single woman and I'm sitting there in that bus stop and it's all wrapped in art, that would make me uncomfortable.
So I was only thinking of the sides and just
thought the back.
one side. Well,
Back on the side.
yeah, it could
Could
be
you
the
do
back
those
side.
photographs that, like, you mentioned that
You have
wonderful
the historic
historical.
Well,
ones,
and that's another thing I wanted to talk
But you can
about.
see through them, can't you? Can't you put
I
those?
believe that there's some
There is a
transparency.
material,
And that would be, you can
So,
even see through it?
what I'm really excited about is you're talking about taglines is I am superior, right? Which,
We are
of course,
superior.
we are superior and I am superior. So if we were able to get permission
Yes.
to, publish or whatever, put a blow up of, Jackson, he is superior. His face would be up there and he would say, I am superior.
Right.
Or we are superior. And then
Or
on
you
the
are
other, or you, but then on the other side, because we've seen some really good ideas in Pinterest, you see people, they have the outline of a butterfly or whatever, and then so people stand in front of it to take a picture. So the bus stops could actually be a destination. If you put I am superior just at the top, then you have something that makes you want to stand in front of it to take your picture. Because I'm superior, right? I'm totally describing this right now,
But if you, I see what you're saying,
I
if you're,
know.
It's a
like if you
great
had the
idea.
picture on the back and you see the bench where people sit to wait for the bus, if you
Right.
had some kind of art and logo, we are superior or whatever, you could sit on that park bench.
With the
Right,
wings.
With the wings or whatever.
Whatever
Take a
Oh, if
picture.
the wings go on the outside
Right,
of
whatever,
you.
So you
whatever,
you want
yeah.
to stand in the middle and someone would take your picture, and then Jackson would be on the other side, or Jackson would be on the other side of the street, because bus stops are like across from each other. So
People
Jackson
would
would be on
love
one
that.
side, I am superior, and then the other side would be a selfie opportunity, basically.
One thing that would be a good partnership is to start using the best of Superior images, because people are already starting,
But that's
it's
what I wanted
becoming
to
really
talk to you.
active.
Right, so that's why I wanted you to see
Uh-huh.
if you could get permission.
Yeah, we do. We have
Oh,
permission. They'd love.
see, you already have the photographs.
Yeah.
Is that the Rock Creek one
It's
that?
it's not the Rock Creek HOA. They are hiring a professional person to do photographs. That's nothing to do with.
So what's the best of Superior?
So it's a program that the pros department started, and I don't know if it's necessarily the Youth Advisory Council's idea. I don't really know where it came from, but I think they're working on the promotion of it. It's hashtag Best of Superior, and they're asking people to go and photograph what they think is the best of Superior, whether it's a person or a place or an animal or what have you, and then post their ideas on our Facebook and Instagram, I believe. And then,
Hashtags don't really work on Facebook.
okay, so it's probably
So really it
Instagram.
should be Instagram.
Yeah.
But
So we're collecting all these images, and we've gotten some really great stuff. And so the thought would be we would contact a person, we'd review the imagery, contact whoever's artwork it is, and ask them permission to then make a bus shelter image out of it.
Yeah, so we can look at all the pictures and we can decide which one.
wait, can we stop for 1 second? Because we're going down a path of
Yeah.
bus stop. And I think we need to determine if we as a group want to go bus stop.
Yes.
Or signal box, and then we can continue our discussion.
That's a great
of,
idea.
Of bus stops if we want. So, do you want to just take a vote, or do you want to have more discussion on bus stop versus the signal boxes?
I have one point.
Yeah.
And then I think that Melinda's idea is pretty brilliant because of the idea of I am superior, you are, or you can, I don't know how that gets processed, but people want to engage now. They're about themselves being in the picture, quite obviously. So, I mean, I just think we go with that. So that's my comment.
And that would be better on a bus stop than a
Yeah.
traffic signal box.
Right.
Okay, other thoughts on bus stop versus traffic signals? Do we have strong opinions one way or the other? Does everybody like the
Well, I
bus stop?
like the bus idea, however, I wouldn't put it against the back window because then you have to see it through the front window and all the people to see whatever it is.
Well, that's part of our, I mean, when we decide that we want to do bus stops, we can go and analyze it and figure out how best to
Have the
lay
safest
the artwork. I mean,
way.
all of them need to be clean, they're all filthy.
They are,
I've been looking at them, they're
Yeah.
disgusting.
And they're usually pretty good. I guess they
No, yeah,
come once a
Vargas
month
was
or
out there.
something.
Oh, really?
But,
Yeah.
you know, the weather's been so bad.
That could be
Yeah,
why,
because Vargas was out there a couple months ago.
cleaning it.
I was actually impressed because I'm like, whoa, they're out cleaning.
So
these
I guess what I want to know is, when you talk about marketing events, you know, could printing a decal, you know, if we're allowed to advertise, right? Can printing a decal be part of the marketing budget, right? Like we've looked at flags and other things for Dow, I mean, so it doesn't necessarily have to come out of,
Well, we have
Alright,
$5,000 to do artwork, whether it's on the bus stop or the signal boxes. So we have a fair amount of money to design and print something for the bus stops.
multi-use.
My only concern about bus stops, and I love them and I think they're a great avenue, they're only on Rock Creek. They're just right out here, a couple on McCaslin and then on Rock Creek Parkway. So it's not, everybody in town doesn't get a taste of it. They have to drive either McCaslin or Rock Creek Parkway to see them.
How about the one that you get on to go to the airport? Is that
I
different?
don't think that we can do
Yeah,
that
that's
one.
probably RTD, yeah.
Oh,
There's not a
That's
bus
a
stop on the
business.
other side
It's a good start.
Oh,
of,
On Colton?
On Colton.
is there one in Colton?
I don't think so. I mean, it would just be the sign, there would not be a shelter, I think.
Ah, okay, right.
I mean, we can do inventory, and again, I'm not saying that that would be any reason to not do it, I'm just wanting to point out that it's just it's a limited audience, it
Right.
isn't everywhere around
Most
town.
people go down McCaslin or Rock Creek Parkway at some time during the week, I would think.
Oh, I have the traffic counts. I got that. I thought would be
Oh my
helpful. I knew I had something else to share. So just as an example, the intersection where this bus shelter is, the daily traffic count in 2015, and I don't know if they have anything more up to date, but is about 8,000 a day.
Where's that corner?
Oh, this is at Rock Creek and McCaslin on the left. And then the traffic count for our roundabout where Dow's sculpture is going is just over 19,000 a day.
And there's a bus shelter right out
There
here.
is a bus shelter
Yeah.
right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is everybody in agreement that bus shelters is a good way to go, and then we can?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then the programming maybe could come along with some of the research I'll do. I'll find out if there's advertising possible. We already know that the Best of Superior project is a possibility to collaborate with. And anything else about any other
I know that
ideas?
Kevin's role is not really to jump in, but, you know, before we go ahead with this, do we need to get like, we don't want to go ahead and, oh, we're doing the bus stops or whatever, and all of a sudden the Board of Trustees says, yeah, we don't like that. How does that process
Isn't that
work?
part of our master plan though?
No, not the map. I mean, we
No.
did, so we did, part of our work
Oh.
plan said signal boxes.
Signal
Did we-
boxes, yeah.
Did we leave it open to other?
We did.
Let me look.
I thought we did leave it open to
My
other.
sense is, I wouldn't worry about it at all. I think
Okay.
the board is gonna look at you guys as our advisory committee expert. There's not many occasions where we're going to take exception to what's recommended by an advisory committee.
Okay, we just didn't want to jump in and say, oh, now we're going to do bus stops, and the board
Right.
says, whoa.
And I think it's a really good idea to jump on the Best of Superior thing. I think that's really, I've seen that initiative. I think it's cool. Unfortunately, there's not that, I'm not on Instagram anymore, but Twitter, there's a couple things on Twitter. So that I just looked and, I
We just said storm drain covers. But I do think, to your point, we can update the board at their next meeting and let them know.
Yeah, it's not a
that this-
material, and the work plan is what you think you're gonna do. I wouldn't overthink.
Right, but again, I think, feedback that I heard personally from our dinner was, update more often than less often, and then that way it's not a big surprise.
Right.
And so tomorrow, just on that note, on the Friday after our meetings, I found out that I need to give a short synopsis of the meeting every
Oh,
Friday.
for the next
Yeah,
week.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they could receive an update on this decision in
Oh, that's perfect.
the note on Monday.
Okay,
So that's a
surprise.
So then it's not even.
It won't be.
Okay.
So it won't be an issue,
That's
they won't
great.
have surprise.
Okay.
Great.
And then I give you little updates as well, so.
Okay.
There's no, if I thought it was material change, I'd walk it through the board, but
Okay.
not a big deal.
Okay, so if we have time at the end, let's circle back around and discuss a little bit more of the thoughts on design if we have time. But other than that, I think we need to move forward.
Yeah, okay, great.
Okay, and dance experience, Terry, you were doing a little bit of research, so you want to fill us in?
Yeah, I checked with the dance company that's here in town, and they don't do anything like line dancing or anything like that. And they could not give me a recommendation of anybody around who did. So I've got some phone calls into some of the other studios, but I've not heard back from them. And then, of course, last time, Melinda said that her mother-in-law,
Yeah, well, my mother-in-law, well, her teacher is on vacation right now. But, we had a discussion, and it doesn't have to be a teacher. It could be someone who's just really into line dancing and already knows all of the dances
Yeah.
and the songs.
well, I started thinking, is there a country western bar around here? That might be a good place to go.
Yeah,
and ask
exactly.
the bartender, do you guys do this here? And
Right.
if so, who
Sure,
leads
that's
it?
a great idea.
But
Well,
since I'm
did
not a
you-
country western
Fan.
Yeah.
fan, I don't know.
Oh, there's probably something.
Oh,
in
that big
Lafayette.
place off of,
Grizzly
The
Rose.
Grizzly
Yeah.
Rose.
I've
Call the
been there.
Grizzly
Right.
All
Rose.
right, field trip.
What's the name of that
South
place?
Bend,
called
Rhode
Grizzly
Island.
Road.
Yeah, Grizzly
It's a
Road.
huge
It's in
bridge.
Lafayette?
No.
It's right off of 25, more near downtown.
Grizzly
I
Road.
really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it on your way to
Denver.
into Denver.
Okay.
So my mother-in-law,
Goes there?
she'll probably come through for us.
Okay.
Did
Well,
you, the Louisville Senior Center and the East Boulder Rec Center does have line dancing.
Okay, then I
and
need to go there
classes.
tomorrow.
And when we did the stuff a year ago for the Arbor Day, the woman who was the PE teacher at El Dorado K-8,
Kathy Cardi Mullen.
yes, she did a fabulous job with the kids and
Oh, she did a little hula hoop thing.
the hula hoop and stuff like that. So I'm guessing as a former PE teacher and stuff, she might have some pretty cool stuff. She was really engaging with everybody who was there.
Okay,
That's
so do we
actually a
have a
great
date that we
I
want
was,
to go
so
through?
that is set a date is the next thing that I have on my list. So we
Okay,
need to set
we
a
want to do
date.
it sometime in August, right?
PE.
That's, I think, and then that way.
See, that also gives us time to say, okay, this is when we want to do it. I know we want to do it at Wildflower Park.
Now, aren't we having it part of the main events? Isn't that?
It's never, no, it's supposed to be at Wildflower Park. And it's just a different experience in a different location.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So if we're going to do it like on a Saturday? When does school start back?
August 1st, probably. No, I don't know.
12th?
Yeah, it's maybe
Early,
like August
yeah.
16th or 18th.
So one of the concerns
16th
that
is
Patrick
a
had
Friday.
about the main events and the pop-ups is that it's going to be real challenging for the town to have 6 more events. And so we thought that you were dovetailing the pop-up experiences into the main events. So that just makes 3 more events.
What are the 6? There's 3 main events. What-
Right, 3 main events and then 3 pop-ups. Now,
But we're incorporating the Prairie Dog
the Prairie Dog goes into
into,
June.
into the main event.
The main event.
Utilities is, or that's not,
It's
not
not
an
exactly
event.
an
It's not an
event
event.
thing.
Right, so if you're talking about calendar
and
competition.
honestly,
Yes.
we can
Yeah.
run a dance experience.
run the dance
We can run things in the park.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be on the shoulders of staff, and it's always been
Okay.
that we wanted a pop-up, a different experience, and we wanted
Okay.
it to be musical, and we wanted it at Wildflower Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be able to pull that up pretty
Yeah,
easily.
that's not something that,
It's
Yeah.
not touted as like a new event.
no, and
no.
it's not gonna be a chili fest.
Okay.
It's more local, if we got 100 people, that would be fabulous, but it's something that we all could certainly put our.
Chip in and
best-
help, like when we did the original Parties in the Park.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we can
Exactly.
manage that.
Okay, so one of the things that we have in the master plan RFP is for the consulting team to help with some kind of pop-up participatory activity at the July and August main events. And that'll be a way for them to reach the community in a creative way and get their input. So they'll be doing like intercept interviews with the people who are there participating in this art activity, and to test out ideas. So maybe I was confused a little bit about the logistics of the main events and the pop-ups. I was thinking that the 3 pop-ups would somehow relate to the 3 main events, so that we could take advantage of doing promotion and pop-up art at the event.
Well, we had talked about the possibility of maybe doing some line dancing at the main events.
Yeah.
So that might be something that we could also discuss with whoever's going to teach.
Yeah.
But, since I don't know what the dates are, I don't have those in
Sure.
my calendar.
It'd be great if one of maybe it's the July or the August main event could include a dance experience that then our consultant will be able to take advantage of reaching the crowd at that moment. Like they would be in charge of that at the main event, so that they could reach the people and speak to people and say, this is what we mean by creative placemaking. What do you think? And really engage people and talk to them about that participatory activity at the moment.
And I could see then advertising the dance experience, so maybe August wouldn't be a good time for it. Maybe it needs to get pushed into September.
We
Okay.
could do July or August or September, yeah. I mean, we have more logistics to work out. We don't have to figure it all out today. but-
Okay. But it would, so we might not be able to set the date for the dance experience, but I do think we need to set the dates for the main events.
Yes.
Because we need to start advertising those, and we need to start getting the vendors and the artisans and give them dates, so.
I thought we already decided on the dates, the 3rd Saturday of the month.
Well, the third Friday of the month is the HOA movie night, and so I wonder if it's too much to have a Friday night event and a Saturday night event in town, and that we,
I would do different weekends.
yeah, everybody that I've talked to has said separate them and not have.
So if we decided on the 3rd Saturday, when we had a dinner with the board, that was what we came up with.
They just said Saturday. They didn't actually say, we didn't
Okay,
say
so-
specifically. They said they preferred a Saturday over a Thursday. We didn't actually, and we didn't vote on it because it was just a dinner.
So would we want to go to the 2nd Saturday of the month?
I have a calendar here if anyone wants to see. Like a June.
When's the 4th of
So-
July?
4th of July is a Thursday.
Yeah, okay, so the 13th would be a little over a week after that.
So
For
we're
the July
talking June, so it'd be June 8th,
Yeah.
July 13th, and August 10th.
Mhm.
I think those are convenient times. I think our only doubt was the earlier in June, the riskier the event. But
I mean, we can go back to the 3rd and just, we're competing with not competing directly, but movie night happens.
Are we near graduations, or are those already over by
Graduations are generally May.
In May, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion. I think the HOA, the movie night,
Or we could go
I
the
haven't
fourth.
been in a long time, so I
We
don't
can
know.
go the
Yeah.
fourth Saturday, either way.
We can, I mean, if people don't think it's a problem, then let's stick with the third Saturday. So that would be June 22nd, July 20th, and August 17th.
The third June is the
June
15th.
1st is,
This Saturday.
so the 3rd is the 15th.
Yeah, you
Sorry,
just said the
I said the
22nd.
22nd.
You did, okay.
That one little one is, so June 15th, July 20th,
And
August 17th.
That's what I was looking at.
Okay. That's the Peach Festival in Lafayette.
The 17th,
Yeah, but
that's during the day, right?
But even
yeah.
that, I mean, the reality of the situation is, we're gonna bump up to so much stuff. I think the main events are a superior kind of thing anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, there are things.
I mean, you're
The
always
only,
gonna
the only
find.
downside is vendors might not be available to
Oh,
come.
the artist?
It's a huge, I mean, I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah, the Peach Festival.
It's enormous. It goes all the way up, blocks and blocks and blocks of
And June
South Public
15th
Road.
is the day before Father's Day, so people may be here in town, you know, it may not be a good travel weekend, they might be here.
I don't have any strong thoughts one way or another. I just think it has to be the same weekend of the month, so people go, oh, it's the third Saturday, there must be a main event. So whatever anybody wants, I don't have any strong thoughts one way or the other, but just some continuity.
And then I would pass these dates by the Marketplace Plaza manager, who has not returned my follow-up email yet, so
Yeah.
I'm waiting to find out. The answer is yes, Brixmor, the manager, would love for us to do these events, but we're waiting to find out if Target has purview over the area. And if so, Target has to give us permission.
Purview of what area?
The two locations in the
Oh,
Marketplace.
okay.
So.
And
they-
what area is their parking control of?
The whole thing.
They own the whole parking lot?
That's what we're trying to find out.
Oh.
They own pretty much the whole thing and.
All the parking
yeah.
lots?
But there is a
Not Costco.
line. There is a line.
Okay.
Right, not at Costco, but on our side where we're looking at,
Over by Real Kids.
The Real Kids,
They
thank you.
definitely own that. And whether it's the, where Center Lot, or Center
Yeah.
Drive is and the Into the Light sculpture,
yeah.
they probably, their parking lot ends probably right there.
Yeah, so I have to wait and see. I'm sure she's trying to find the time to look up their lease and look at the plan, the site plan, to see where they have purview. And then if they do have purview over our locations, then I need to contact them myself and ask for permission.
I'm trying to think if there's any instances, the bike race has been over there. I don't know if anybody's actually used their parking lot, so it's a crapshoot. Okay, so is everybody okay if we pick and put on the calendar the third Saturdays in June, July, and August? Okay.
I'm not there.
We should probably vote on it, right?
Sure. Somebody want to make a motion to?
I move that we use the third Saturday in June, July, and August for our main events.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And everybody's in favor. There's this. Okay, so then that brings us to the staff update and hiring the event coordinator.
Do we,
The roundabout?
what about roundabout art?
Oops. Oh, sorry, we jumped to main event, sorry. How did I do that? Oh, because we started talking.
You were talking about the dance experience and Dina was a little
Sorry.
confused.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah, thank
jump to
you.
dates. Okay, so roundabout art, review base design concepts. So we all got this in our email. And so we've seen the rusted metal and the faux stone, and Da Vinci has provided a stacked stone and a stone slab design. And then it would be another vendor for Design 5 if we chose to cast.
Yeah, it'd be a cast concrete shape that looks like a boulder.
Is that like the slide at Wildflower?
Right.
That concept? Okay.
So have these all been priced out, so we know that they're all affordable?
Yeah, so the three things that I was going to report to you are the rough estimates, the maintenance, and the artist preference. The fourth thing is a timeline, but that's not totally related, so. Okay, so the rough estimates are rough. The rusted metal idea here is between $40,000 and $50,000, and that includes the concrete footer that's underground.
I'm assuming for all three, or per each.
Well, for all three, yes.
Okay.
How
We're
tall
gonna
are they?
skip the stacked stone for a minute.
Do you know how tall are they? I can't see that.
They're between 6 and 7 feet tall. This bow stone is literally like a styrofoam that's painted to look like stone. And it would be between, I'd say, 50 and 60, so slightly higher than the metal. And then this idea with the stacked slab, we're calling it the slab, stone slab idea. This is going to be a little more expensive at about 65 to 75.
What kind, is it just literally stone stacked or is it base stuff?
It's real stone. So these are real slabs of stone that are between 2 and 3 inches thick.
Are they-
So it's a veneer that
Oh, it's
goes
a
on a
veneer.
metal understructure.
Okay.
So it's not too heavy, which is
Right,
what
it's
got us
heavy,
here.
but it's not as heavy as a boulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are two different layouts, a taper down.
Yeah,
the
there's a
straight.
tapered layout and a straight layout, and they're the same pricing. And then this one is a fabricated, it's a cast concrete stone look, and it's painted to look like stone as well. And it's similar to what someone said, which part does that
Wildflower,
slide in?
where they have the cool
Wildflower,
slide.
Right. And this one is between about 55,000 for the three bases for each part of the sculpture, but it doesn't include the footer, underground concrete footer. And that footer we'd probably do with an independent construction company, and that could be as much as 10,000.
And Da Vinci would not do the cast concrete.
Right, Design 5 is, I believe it may even be the same people who did Wildflower.
I think that's what Patrick mentioned, that he was going to look into that.
Well, he
Reach out to
he
them.
did not, but I
somebody.
did. So
Okay.
I reached out to this fabricator, they're called ID Sculpt, and they're in Gunnison, and I've worked with them before. And it's possible it's the same one that did the Wildflower Park, I just didn't look up the records to see.
Could we see the sculpture? I saw it earlier, it's flashed
Yes.
a couple of times.
So then
Well, so-
we have
Yeah.
one more idea that came up.
So I don't personally love any of these options, but I kept looking at, and I know it's completely against what we originally thought and saw, but I took the rusted piece and I painted it black. And I actually really like that.
I agree with Daryl that I think that with their sort of almost a classical feel, I love the juxtaposing of the rusted metal going, I mean, it just, these other ones really blend, but they actually make a little bit of a statement without overpowering the art. My way in is I think black could be fine. I'm not sure on the, this doesn't oxidize. If we do rusted metal, does that oxidize into a green eventually?
I think it depends on how, yeah, it depends on how it's
Oh,
treated and finished.
And the black, how about it, getting pinged with things? Would that, is it a bird poop?
white bird poop.
The bird poop won't harm this coating, we'd have to power wash it, but.
And do you guys remember when, I was telling Dina, when Resite was here and they were talking about the finish on there, they were working on a technology that actually impregnated the metal so that you don't have to, it's not the powder coating or the.
It's like airplane stuff.
Yeah, and it is incredibly durable. It might be incredibly expensive too, but there's technologies that keep it from deteriorating and looking bad.
Right, there's a marine grade paint, there's an automotive paint, and then you do a clear coat UV protectant over the top. And yes, rocks will chip it, but rocks, that get flown out from under a tire will chip pretty much anything that you put there. So it's hard to say how often that might happen. My thought is even the black base would probably need to be painted every 5 years or so, 5, maybe 8 if we're lucky. And that's about, could be as much as maybe $2,000 to $3,000 to repaint. The rusted metal is also a paint. It's actually a faux rust. It's not real rusted metal. So it's an aluminum metal that's painted to look like rust. And that would also need to be repainted probably every, I would say probably a little longer, maybe 8 years, if we're lucky, because it depends on how much red and orange they use.
Might be more forgiving, although the black is interesting.
I think we should be careful not to stray too far away from the artist's design.
Well, and the artist's preference at this point is the rusted metal.
Well, he said he was okay with it, but.
Oh, no, he gave me a list. He gave me a list of his preferred.
1 through
Yeah,
5?
If stones were not available.
Well, everybody's preference is boulders, from what I understand.
And that's number 5. So let me make my point. His sculptures, this, and as well as all the other, ones that he showed, are on top of natural bases, and they have natural landscaping down below. It's not tailored, it's not a plant, an identical plant every foot all along the way. It's a natural environment. If I was going to describe this whole sculpture, as I'm sure it probably will be in papers and reviews and things, it's the power of the natural environment coming up through the earth with the scattering of rocks and then surging forth in those bigger rocks and then flowing into the sculptures, which are zephyrs. It's another name for a high western wind. So the base is rounded, the floor space is rounded, the bases are rounded, the figures are rounded. And if we throw geometry right in the middle, I think that diffuses the artist's intent. It's clear that he wanted there to be boulders
Actually,
from the very beginning.
He also had one that was flat, remember? He never,
Well, the surface is gonna have to be flat.
What?
The surface where
Do
the
you
feet
remember the
go.
one where they were just sitting on a mound?
Yes.
That was part of his presentation.
And it was round.
Right,
It was rounded and it was
a-
bare. It did not have rows and rows of carefully planted little flowers either.
We're not
So
talking
I'm
about
concerned
flowers.
about that
We're
too.
talking about
I know there's a plan where there's rows and rows of very carefully little decorative flowers.
Okay.
We're not talking
So,
about that.
at the expense of, someone egging my house later, don't do it, Marcia. The meaning of this piece, I don't, it doesn't mean that much to me,
You don't see
honestly,
the nature in
basis.
it?
And especially when you show me the options. If we can't have, like, this looks like it's marble, I don't even know what this is. That is an impossibility, as we have discussed, right? So, short of having real stone, I don't like any of these options because they're on everybody's front porch and it's everybody's fire pit in their backyard. There is nothing unique about any of these things.
No,
that
I
they
would agree.
created.
I looked at these and I'm like,
Yeah.
we have those at the
And they're all
corner of
gonna
our
look,
neighborhood.
exactly.
Yeah, no.
It would almost look like something in an art gallery. So all the things to the right are just nothing to me. So I'm leaning towards the uniformity maybe and the starkness of the modern, the rusted metal, right? Because I don't think, with the plants in the bottom and the boulders that we have scattered around, I don't think having the rusted metal base is going to diminish the meaning of the zephyr. It's for me.
I would agree with that.
So that's my two
And
cents.
I think if rusted metal, this looks a little orangey to me, maybe just the way the color.
Yeah, maybe the printout.
Yeah,
It's
just to
hard
print
tell
out,
exactly.
because rusted metal has a real contemporary, rugged earth feel to it. So if you had 3 rusted metals.
I like that.
This one is kind of an odd color, the cast concrete one.
I think it's just, you could paint it to what we wanted.
Yeah,
I think
kind
that's
of
just a
match
sample
what he
of
came up with
like
originally.
what the rock is up in Founder's Park.
Oh, is that what he?
Yeah, it has that same shape of that rock in Founder's Park.
I know that, the design 5 is a little deceiving because that's a climbing rock, but it was the
Yeah, and
best
of
I could
course they
find.
could do it like this.
Yeah, they would do
like a
whatever
real
shape,
rock.
but
There's
I
some
would like to
prevalence.
say that Dow gave me a list this week of what his preference was, and his preference is the boulder, the original design. We can't do that.
Because it's too heavy.
His second choice is the rusted metal, and his third choice is this stone slab. Now, we talked to him just at 6 o'clock, and then 5:45 about the black base.
'Cause I
And said,
literally
what
just
do you
thought
think
it
about
would be
that
fun."
idea? And he said he'd love to see it. He actually is intrigued by the idea. So those are his 4 thoughts that he gave me to share with you.
Could I weigh in? I really hear what you're saying. The organic nature. I, on the other hand, see it as I love the statement of that very, very angular piece against the Zephyr. And I actually, in my mind, every eye of the beholder is, each of us are gonna see what we see. But I love, and I think I see what he's saying, because it's not trying, in my humble opinion, that's fake rock. That thing in the middle belongs in a housing development. So to me, it says, here's art.
I would agree with that too. That the rusted metal looks like art, whereas the stone, well, this is just weird. The one in the
And they
middle,
could
number
almost
2.
be more angular,
Yeah.
add a little more angle.
It could
and
even
line
be-
so that they really look like it's coming right around
Absolutely.
in the arc of the,
Yeah, no, I
figures.
think that, yeah, I agree with that too, that you could actually make the base almost is a piece of art that complements the Zephyr coming out. Whereas this looks kind of like something on a playground.
Well, they would fabricate it.
They would fabricate it,
They
right.
would absolutely
And 2 and
fabricate
3
it to look
have
better.
literally no interest to them at all.
But my concern
So-
about the playground thing is they can fabricate it to look like a rock, but it's still, in my mind, it's gonna look fake.
I agree with
I mean, I see those rocks, and we have a bunch of them around town, and they look fake. And so I would rather have something completely different if we can't have the real thing.
Yeah, because the rock
Exactly right.
doesn't add any interesting, oh, wow, is that cool?
It doesn't add any meaning to
It
the
doesn't
piece
add
for me.
any different or interest to it.
If it was black, and I don't know whether, again, can you imagine how cool that would be? I come back to my famous lighting. Can you imagine? Light going up, how cool it would be? Spotlighted on it?
No, really, because if that
Beautiful.
contemporary pedestal had lights on it in a really weird way that,
Or coming up, even, the simple lighting without without the ideas of all that other inside stuff. I just think it would be really dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, I still have to defend him in his number 1. I know number 1 is rock, and he didn't say number 5 then has to be it, but I would still say that it has to be something organic. And when we're whipping around that, with the other rocks that Patrick was talking about putting around below them, I just don't think that would fail to blend in.
wait, which one? I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't think number 5 would fail to blend in. I think it would blend in and look natural
Maybe.
from 15 miles an hour in your car.
I think it would look like the rest of the boulders that were left behind in the roundabout. It would blend in with the other rocks, and so what's the point of spending the money to fabricate it if it just looks like the other rocks?
Well, to me, that completes the natural, organic environment and leaves out geometry, leaves out man-made objects.
Yeah, but I mean, in art all the time, things change constantly. I mean, you have to be able to adapt, and we've clearly run into that because we can't have what we thought we wanted. And honestly, I never loved whatever you put them on there. I think they look like pieces of this, the salt, the pink salt that you get, like in big rock sculptures. So I've never I think we all have gone back to just his little pencil sketch, and that's what we have in our mind, and it's a pencil sketch, and I don't think it's a real rock. So that's where and it doesn't have to be black, but I just thought, wow, what if it was,
How long would it take for them to manufacture?
So timeline-wise, when we began talking with them, Da Vinci in January about doing a base, they said 6 weeks fabrication. So let's say they're still at that timeline. If we had a contract by April 5th, then we would be looking at installation of the bases the first week of May, and then the sculpture would come in right after that.
Because we had a kind of a tentative date when we'd like to see it for the big reveal, didn't?
Well, yeah, his contract is over April 15th,
Okay.
so we'll have
He
to
has to be
extend it.
done.
So he has to be done by April 15th, so whenever we
No,
get our.
we can extend it.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's easy to extend.
He has to have the pieces basically done, and then, except for moving it here and welding it and putting it together, which
Has
it
that
is.
been explored? Do we know how that?
She's working on that.
The transportation, you mean?
Yeah, and I thought there was something about the closure and these huge cranes.
Oh, sure, yeah, well, so when we're talking about the items here, the metal base is the easiest to install and you don't have to close the road. The big stone slabs, and even potentially that cast concrete, we may have to close a road. So logistics are a little tougher and we could still do it, but of course, not closing the road is preferred.
So I want to ask a totally different question. We've been going down the road with Da Vinci, and that's one vendor. They're giving us a price of $40 to $50 if we were to go with the rusted metal. We had $20,000 budgeted. That is way over budget. Are we going to go out to another sign company, somebody else that, might come in closer to our budgeted amount, or are we just going to eat it and pay?
It's unlikely we're gonna get anything for 20, no matter who we go to. We could certainly ask for proposals, if we were to do like a metal base. There's 1 million metal fabricators in Colorado and even nearby, that we could reach out to.
So just to be clear, the procurement policy would say we would do a formal RFP, but it doesn't mean that just because something is less money, that we're not making a determination that something is fair and reasonable. So staff will always make sure that Da Vinci or anybody they hire is a very competitive price. And so it just may not be the formal process of an RFP. So if Da Vinci is taking advantage of us because they know we're only making one phone call, staff is not going to let that happen. It's going to be, we are not going to approve anything that is not determined by staff as fair and reasonable, and have a bunch of finance nerds up on the board these days. So Matt is going to get the question, how do we know this is fair? And, we called around and we gave the specs, and Da Vinci was within X%, and we have a relationship with them and established contracts, and we went with Da Vinci.
Okay. But then
Good to
that
know.
doesn't deal with the fact that it's, potentially $20,000 to $30,000 over budget.
It's a budget issue, right? So
Okay.
we're going to have to take it, and this being over budget means something else is going to come under budget, right? We're going to have to tighten our belt a little bit on this one this year. There's a few things that are over budget, so.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the good thing is ultimately the sculpture is being paid for by Downtown Superior. So, I mean, it could just be that the extra 30,000 or whatever it ends up being is what the town has to.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting question, do we seek reimbursement under the TIF for the base as well? So, but it doesn't matter. I mean, that's all going to be, ultimately the auditors make that determination. But your point's good, so.
quick question, well, before we vote, because I'm assuming we have to vote on it. Can Dow do any, like, art creative with the metal, since you're using metal to make it almost like a piece of artwork? You know, the base is, that's too much to ask.
No.
A base is really separate from your piece.
Okay.
Well, and normally, it's a good point, though, normally, what would happen in this commissioning atmosphere is the artist would be responsible for the base as well. And you would get your proposal, including the base, and he would have it cost estimated, and he would know he's building this base and this is what it looks like. So this is a really unusual situation
Okay.
where we had to separate it. From what I understand, it was because some of the logistics weren't lining up for the timeline to get his contract started so he could make the sculpture. So they separated the base design and fabrication from his contract just to get him going on the sculpture.
And
So-
we ran into the weight
Yeah.
glitch.
Yeah, so this is really an unusual circumstance. We probably won't, we'll knock on wood, have to do it this way again. It's been a lot of brain damage for you guys, and I know it's been a little frustrating.
But it's gonna be awesome.
Yes.
All right, so do we want to have any more discussion on the options that are here? Or do we want to just,
I just want to say, I think that's a really fair question you ask, and about that, you know, the base, what Dow could or couldn't do with it, and that's really good information to know. You know, I think it will be beautiful, but I can see where the idea is valid. Could it actually, you know, come into the piece, but in this case, it sounds like this is what the best solution is.
well, and I don't know if you remember, when we saw the rusted metal first, Da Vinci did put some of those cross lights in, like they did in the signs. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Dow did not like that at all.
Right.
He liked it
Right.
much simpler and plain.
He could still have input on the shape of the
Yes,
angular. the
he
angle.
will. He'll have
He will,
input on that, the final shape,
Okay,
for
good.
sure.
Wait, the final shape and angularity of the base?
Right.
Oh, that was what I was asking.
Yes, so
That he will look at it and say,
Oh, I thought you wanted more decoration.
no.
If we decide to
Sorry,
go-
no. That the artist who is putting this amazing sculpture will have some
Creative
feedback,
input on it,
creative
yes.
input
Yes,
on
yeah.
what if we just
Yes.
tilted it or whatever an artist
Absolutely.
might
So
do to make it look even
If you
more
all decide
dramatic.
to go
Okay.
down the metal route,
Okay.
he will work closely with Da Vinci on the actual final shape.
Okay, good. That's what I was
Yeah,
wondering, because
yeah.
that just looks, I mean, I like it the best, but it looks just like it could be almost tweaked.
I suggest just flipping through, when you look at all his pieces, his bases are really minimalist. And so
They
I
are.
actually think
Yeah.
that, I mean, the one in Orlando is probably, and that's the one that's on the water, not looking at it now, but it's because of the tide of the pond or wherever it is. Sometimes you see the base, sometimes you don't, but for the most part, with his art,
It's the art you see.
yeah, you
I mean,
never
look at
notice
that
the base.
base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just concrete.
Absolutely, I agree. I think
So-
minimalist is a good way to put it.
Yeah, so I'm sort of, there was this conversation around organic and, gee, you don't want that, but I'm kind of backing off
They're
that.
over, you click the arrow to the, see the arrow to the right on the.
Oh,
go-
here.
Yeah.
It's like, where is that arrow? I think I kind of hard to see.
So interesting how his art is actually involved.
Yeah, I mean, the one most similar, the one in,
The one in Utah,
Yeah.
the head.
That one.
Yeah, that's just concrete, yeah.
yeah, but without looking at, now we're all looking at the base. Did any of us ever think about what his base was before? So-
No, not really.
Which is why I think going to, Dow's number one choice is number one.
Just go with it.
I think we
I
should.
agree.
So we will need to make a formal recommendation to the board because this is a change. So does someone want to make a motion so that we can and vote on which one?
So moved.
Okay.
What is some?
We're making a motion to
Do the rest of that.
Recommend the
rusted
rusted metal
make a recommendation to the
base.
board that we want the rusted metal, and we'll leave the color up to the artist.
Someone want to second it?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of rusted metal footer, what do we call them?
You can
Base.
call it
We're
base,
calling it
flange,
base.
pedestal, the footer is the concrete underground.
Okay, all right, all those opposed? Sorry, didn't mean to call you.
Gotta stick with that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, that's what makes it all. Okay, so we have 10 minutes and we have
The whole main event.
main event.
I already did that.
Well, we talked about the date, so we set the date, so that first
Okay.
thing is done. And then discuss the logistics and finalize plans. So we do know that we're still waiting on final location from Brixmor. And staff it's been approved to help, to hire an event coordinator.
And I've been provided a list of people to reach out to see if they're interested and have time and what their pricing is.
Okay.
So
And
if you have anyone
if
else you need
anyone
to add to
knows
that
of-
list, go ahead and add.
I knew 4 different people. I included Kelly from the farmer's market. I don't know if she'll be
Yeah.
available.
And then if you have a few, criteria you want us to use to evaluate who to select, you're welcome to give me some bullet points if you want. A couple questions maybe I need to ask, and so I don't know if you have time to do that now, or you want to.
Sure, we can think about it. I mean, I think personally, I want somebody that has some arts connection because we want it to be some kind of art event. And so just to have a planner for the sake of having a planner doesn't really help that, in my opinion.
And past history, having experience with this,
Describe with this.
With
with event planning like this, yeah. This is not a training experience.
Right. No, please, no. Event planning experience.
Event and arts.
Right.
Okay.
Do they make recommendations for, are foods included? Are we doing, is this?
We want to do,
food?
remember, we want to do wine of your garden, we want to do food and some sort of entertainment. And art vendors.
So those are issues, those are things that we would list that they needed experience.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, as soon as they come on board, we'll have a meeting, a brainstorming meeting, and just say, what could this event be? And then we'll capture all of that, and then we'll go to work on getting it laid out.
Yeah. If
Do you know a time frame on hiring the event coordinator?
Soon, I just need to.
Well, because,
yeah,
the
like
first
next
event's
week.
in less than 3 months.
Yeah, I can start calling next week and just really start to narrow it down.
Narrow it down.
It's such a small budget amount that we don't have to do any kind of
RFP,
RFP process or anything like
Oh,
that.
that's good.
Yeah, it'll be fast.
So are there other ideas or thoughts of things that people want to have at the event that they're interested in seeing? Chris, you might have something from a parent with young children perspective that we haven't been thinking of.
If it's any help, we've talked about circus, aerial kinds of things. We've talked about music. We've talked about dance. We've talked about,
I gotta know if you want to get into the whole bouncy house type of thing, do you?
I think I want
Kind
to,
of avoid
personally, I
that.
want to stay away from the bouncy house.
Yeah.
I want it to be more of a hands-on, interactive, touch and smell and feel experience, but that's just my opinion.
We're trying to do a lot more Rocky Fire, so
trying to do a lot of what?
do more with Rocky Mountain Fire, and they want to be more a part of the community. They just don't want to flip pancakes for us anymore. They want to get out there and be part of us.
Oh.
And so it's not, they're not going to,
Right.
it's not like it's entertainment,
They
but.
could do a stop, drop, and roll presentation.
Right.
Oh, right.
Some fire stations have things where they can put kids in some sort of harness, and they can jump up and down,
I don't think they're gonna do that, but I mean, there's certainly roll out the, they'll roll out the ladder truck, they love bringing that.
They, my grandkids, that's like their
Right, so
favorite
just-
event. They hold the fire hose.
Right, so just getting out
Yeah.
there.
So have a
and-
touch of trust
Absolutely.
and
Right, bringing awareness.
Touch, feel.
Right, right.
Community that,
Right.
yeah.
So it's not exactly entertainment, but hey, man, the ladder, like, I always love looking at the ladder truck.
No, and really, seriously.
It's like a $1.3 million truck, I look at that all the time.
50% of the
So they're in?
attendees will be happy.
They're not in yet, but I mean, if you guys are looking for ideas, it's just.
I think it's a
public.
great idea.
I think it's a
Kids
great
would
idea.
love it.
Certainly
What do we
could
do?
present the dates to them and see if they're available.
Right.
Okay.
And want to.
And I'm assuming Dina will do that,
Yeah, we'll work on
or
that
the event
stuff.
coordinator.
Yeah.
Right, and then
Okay.
same, just if you have ladder truck and then
Okay.
the, our truck as well. So the town's historic fire truck would be a good one.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The historic commission would love that.
The historic, bring in the historic truck
Right.
as well.
I don't know if there could be like an arts and crafts kind of station, you know? Because like you said,
We're
at
doing
the,
that, yeah.
what was that, the Chili Fest with the mural, like,
Mhm.
you know.
That's what we want to do, but with small prairie dogs, essentially.
It's for the prairie dogs.
Yeah. And the idea is, at this time, people would take them with them because there's no place for storing, and then maybe we could have a come bring your prairie dogs pop-up event or.
Do they
you know,
purchase them? I mean, is there a donation?
Well, we can decide on
All
whether we
that.
want that. I mean, almost everything in the town of Superior is free, but I'm not opposed to, if we wanted to do
Yeah.
small ceramics and then we knew they cost a certain amount of money.
If we just broke even.
Just
Yeah.
broke even.
Yeah, covered our costs.
We talked about t-shirt, there's a t-shirt,
Yeah, paint
Oh, the
t-shirt,
t-shirt
yeah, I
truck.
do like
the
that.
t-shirt truck.
This,
I mean, we have a whole bunch of stuff, ideas on
And
Dropbox.
food trucks?
Well, that's under
Our
food and then
t-shirt guy can
entertainment.
make a prairie dog t-shirt.
Oh, that is.
well,
brilliant.
the truck that they literally bring, it's like a food truck, but they come and they design a special silk screen for, and you get to like pull the screen, and they have the little oven and they dry it and then. Yeah,
Start the tagline,
easy.
I am superior with the prairie
and
dog.
the prairie dog.
You know, the problem with that tagline is Denver just rolled out a huge I Am Denver program.
How about
It's
you?
big.
Oh, really?
And,
But
yeah.
that's not nearly as clever.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell people
They don't
when I
have a
look at,
road
hey,
enough.
I
But we
live
could do something
Denver.
like superior, and then that's
Right.
truly ours,
I am superior.
Or how about I am the best of Superior? Weren't you, Kevin, saying?
Yeah, I think
what-
best of Superior,
Well, I am
Right.
we are the best of.
I think best of Superior or Superior, I think it's probably worth,
You
offline
can
and a glass of
incorporate
wine,
that
you guys
in.
thinking about it. Shoot, I had another thought and I forgot. Around the Superior Leadership thing. Perhaps, so a couple things just around the main events. Let's just make sure we also tie in the Superior Youth Leadership Council, just they'll help sort of getting things set up, help with the garbage and things like that. Those kids are always looking for volunteer hours. There's also every year, El Dorado eighth graders go to DC, and it's an insane amount of money. And so they usually, during the summer, those rising eighth graders are looking for ways to make money. And so having them maybe organize something, and if it's $2 for the paint a prairie dog or something, and then that money that they're volunteering, but there's a donation that helps those rising eighth graders go to DC.
Like a scholarship or just?
Well, so for example, so I think it's goofy, they give out the water at either Chili Fest or 4th of July, or maybe both. And then they're, like the town or the Rock Creek HOA, whoever buys the water, but they give it out. And then they're like, oh yeah, I'm looking for money, and it's kind of a handout. So this would actually be, they'd have to get to work and do something for you guys. So I think, anyway, the point is that.
That's a great idea.
Finding a way to get the kids involved, particularly either the teenagers from the Youth Leadership Council, who are great and will really work, or kind of the preteen, middle schoolers, the rising eighth graders,
Yeah.
who,
They are looking to make money. The only thing, I have heard though, that the water thing, they somehow would exclude kids, and so we would really want to be careful and make sure it was inclusive to all eighth graders.
Right,
Yeah.
of course.
But, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, somehow, anyway, finding some way to get the kids and leave that for you guys, but, yeah. And that'll also if the kids are going, parents are gonna go.
Right,
Absolutely.
Right, so finding a way to,
and they're
Because
friendly.
they have to bring them there.
Yes.
And is there anything going, like, because as you're so linked into like El Dorado K-8 and stuff, anything that they could do or activities they've seen or that would make it more interesting and more people would come? Just think about it, let us know.
Well, we talked about various kinds of entertainment, so they could either have a band, or they could hire circus act, or magic act, or something, but yeah. Didn't we talk about DJ? Like,
We did.
how fun
We did
a
talk about
DJ might
DJs.
be.
Mm-hmm, yep, we
You
did.
said about putting in requests?
Oh, yeah, wouldn't that be fun? You know, with a boom box, have a DJ and people come by and give requests.
Well, not a boombox, and do those
Oh, yeah.
exist anymore?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Well, I got one, but I mean.
All right, Marcia, you were the DJ.
You might be, right? For my studio, of course, you gotta have a boombox in your studio.
Yeah.
But no, in this day and age, yeah, you need to have it like online or something so people can request. Get it.
Okay,
I'm assuming the event planner will come up with a lot of really cool ideas to help us out.
Yeah, we'll brainstorm it and have a lot of fun coming up with ideas.
I think eventually we need to get like American Ninja Warrior course in Superior.
I know, wouldn't that be fun?
That's just
That's a great
like
idea.
Oh, they would kill.
all ages.
I know.
Oh, but then you have to, you run through the course and you paint a painting at the end. Because it
That's awesome.
couldn't
It
just
becomes
be
like
exercise.
it's like a gorgeous mural of.
Wouldn't it be
That's so
fun? Like,
funny.
you have to paint it. Anyway.
Jackson Pollock.
That is, yeah.
Love that idea. Okay, we have a couple minutes and we just need to hit the Colorado Creative Industry Summit in Salida, which is May 16th and 17th. And I think they run out of space pretty quickly. So if anybody is interested in attending that, then we need to register right away. I cannot. I actually am working that whole weekend. So I think it's a Thursday and a Friday. And if you want to go ahead and go online, I can send you a link to it so you can see what kind of activities they're presenting.
So it's May, what are the?
May 16th and 17th.
It's on the back.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I went to it a couple years ago when it was in Fort Collins, and it was really, I mean, it was really fun, and it's probably changed a little bit because there's more, the word placemaking didn't exist when I went, so, I mean, they existed, but people weren't talking about it the way we are now. So are people thinking they might be interested in going, or do we want to keep looking for something else?
I won't be able to go to that.
Okay. Terry?
Sure, I can.
Would there be other options? that
Well, I can look for other things to see. This was just a great option because the summit that we went to last year was in Arizona, remember?
I know,
Yeah.
it's not local.
No, but we can look for some, I can look for something else. And it's not something we have to do, it's just something I thought it's great for us to go out and see what other people are doing. It spurs creativity. It gets us talking about the town of Superior. And also next week is Boulder Art Week, so take a look at the calendar, go online, there's all kinds of cool events going on. And Marcia, the Da Vinci exhibit, if anybody hasn't gone, it's amazing. It's at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Any last thoughts on anything?
Just send us the idea of any other conferences.
I'll see what I can find.
See if there's something different.
Sorry. Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and
Dana, thank you.
Yours.
For notes,
Thank you. Your
Yes.
research and answers.
Terry takes the
and-
most amazing
yes.
summaries.
Oh, that's yours, I'm sorry. There's no need to keep recording.
I think about what I know what lights are.
Oh, my God.
So,
Yeah,
and it becomes